Maverick traders, welcome out to your currency recap for August 4th. Corey here with you. We're going to take you through meaningful news. We're going to talk about what's moving in the equity markets, in currency land, crypto, forex pairs, anything that excites us, and we'll highlight our very best setup ideas.
All trades and analysis in this video are intended for professional traders only. This content does not constitute financial advice and is for educational purposes. This video is being released after a short delay due to Compliance Department review. Maverick members receive this content immediately as part of their daily trading resources. If you're ready to level up, consider joining Maverick Currencies. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits. You bring the skill, we provide the backing. Let's get into today's market recap and see how the pros are trading the currency markets.
So as we come in today, this is on the back of Friday's jobs data, and that's really where all the news comes from. So Friday we got this dismal jobs report, and so bad that Trump fired the head of BLS and all this sorts of things. The probability of a Fed rate cut skyrocketed. Now there's a 90+% probability that the Fed will cut in September, and the US dollar sold off. It kind of stabilized today. I mean, there was a lot of movement, a lot of things happening on the back of this jobs data. Goldman Sachs came out and downgraded their economic forecast, expects only 1% economic growth for the rest of this year. The US dollar had a pretty good July in that it was at least higher. It had rallied for the first month since December of 2024. So this has been a historic sell-off year so far in 2025 for US dollar. And one would anticipate, I mean, why did the dollar, when looking at the dollar, the Fed's more likely to cut rates? That's not really bullish for the dollar either. So there was at least a little bit of stabilization in July and then further selling. We saw the Swiss franc down today about 0.5%. Everything else relatively neutral. You saw crypto with a big, huge bounce back, up 4%, led by some of the more speculative crypto, but still that sector was strong. Equity markets up about 1.5%. Oil, the big underperformer, down just shy of 2%. So oil had a really rough day. Like I said, Bitcoin wasn't up that much, but Ethereum, Litecoin, these things were on fire. Now, as we look at the S&P, we're to a point where we would call this a critical zone. So Friday, well, here's Thursday's close. Friday, we gapped down sharply on the jobs number. Today, we bounce back as people say, well, the Fed's more likely to cut rates. And guess where that takes us? Right back to where we started on Thursday. So it's almost like Friday's price action is a wash. We sell off on that news. Now we bounce back and we're right back where we started. Now, two things can happen. You fill the gap like this key zone, and this is the gap fill area. Do we fill the gap and then reverse and move in the original direction of the gap, or do we fill this gap but just keep going and continue on our upward trend? It could really go either way, and that's the thing about a support resistance zone and inflection point. The nice thing is we'll be able to watch this zone and kind of determine whether the market's going to go on to new highs and just keep marching higher, or this would be the spot where it should encounter a bit of resistance and potentially roll off as it's now filled the gap. The rest of this week, there's not as much on the economic side as last week. Last week we had the Fed meeting, we had jobs, all these things. You do have the Bank of England reporting. They're expected to cut rates by 25 basis points. You have some employment data out of Canada this coming Friday. You've got some employment data out of New Zealand tomorrow, but just really pretty light. That's a pretty light week for economic reports. So not too much there to concern yourself with. It's going to be more about the technicals. Now, we're moving into a little bit more risk-off environment. Even with today's bounce back, Japanese yen looks strong. New Zealand dollar, even the Aussie look a little weaker. And the pairing right here is really New Zealand dollar against Japanese yen on the short side. So you would short this pair, right? And that would get you short New Zealand dollar and long Japanese yen pairs. And I really like that setup. If you're looking in crypto land, Litecoin is the strongest, has the most velocity to it. Let's look at a couple of these charts to put it into more visual representation of that. So look at Litecoin. It's perfect. Upward trending, upward sloping moving average on a buy signal, upward sloping and trending higher on the RSI. Perfect bullish candidate. We've broken out above this resistance zone from the past, and away we took off to the upside. Now, could it have a little minor pullback or something? Certainly possible, but Litecoin looks very strong, looks very healthy technically. If we go to FX pairs, like we said, Japanese yen, upward trending in the moving average, buy signals, upward sloping, upward trending on the RSI, Japanese yen looks strong, looks like a buy. New Zealand dollar, all the opposite. You've got a downward sloping RSI here. You're on a sell signal, you've got downward slope, making new lows. So again, the trade is get short New Zealand dollar, and expectation is that it will continue to trade to lower levels, and you want to be long the Japanese yen. If the equity markets have now filled that gap and they roll over, which is the most common characteristic, when you gap, you typically fill the gap and then go in the original direction of the gap. For equities, for stocks, that would mean lower. That would still point to a more risk-off environment, and this pairing would be perfect for that. So I really like the New Zealand dollar Japanese yen short trade. If you're going to play in the crypto space, Litecoin is the strongest and has the most velocity. This is, after all, a volatile market. There are times when you go to the more stable Bitcoin. There are times when you go more speculative route, and Litecoin is the strongest at this time. Hope you enjoyed today's currency recap. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next time.